In the desert plains of southern Peru, there are hundreds of enormous drawings etched into the ground. Straight lines stretching for kilometers, animals rendered at a scale larger than football fields, geometric shapes visible only from above. They were made by people with no known ways to see them from the air. And yet they were made deliberately, carefully, and repeated for centuries. The question isn't how they were made, it's why they were made at all. Welcome to the evidence gap. The Nazca Lines were created by the Nazca culture between roughly 500 BCE and 500 CE. They're located on the Nazca Desert Plateau in southern Peru. Now, this is one of the driest regions on Earth. The method used to create them is pretty straightforward. Dark surface stones were cleared away to reveal lighter soil beneath, so that it formed visible lines and shapes. But there are more than 500, there are more than 800 straight lines, hundreds of geometric forms, and dozens of recognizable figures, including birds, monkeys, spiders, marine animals. Some of these measure over 300 meters in length. But importantly, this wasn't a single construction event. These lines were created, modified, expanded over many generations. Now, at first glance, the Nazca Lines can appear rudimentary, simple. But it's their precision that tells a different story. Many of the straight lines maintain direction over uneven terrain with, remarkably little deviation. Some extend for several kilometers without drifting or curving. But achieving that level of accuracy at ground level requires a lot of planning, repeated measurement, alignment checks, correction over distance. There's no evidence of elevated platforms, scaffolding, or aerial vantage points, but yet the geometry holds. Now, in addition, many lines intersect older ones, so that indicates long-term continuity rather than isolated acts. So this wasn't, spontaneous expression. It was organized, repeatable behavior carried out over centuries. So now, numerous explanations have been proposed for the Nazca Lines. Some researchers suggest they functioned as ritual pathways meant to be walked rather than viewed. Others point to astronomical alignments, noting that certain lines correspond with solstices or celestial events. There's also interpretations involving water symbolism, tied to rainfall, aquifers, and survival in an extreme environment, which this is. But the difficulty here is that no single explanation accounts for all of the evidence. Some of the theories explain the straight lines well, but not the animal figures. Others explain symbolic imagery, but not kilometer-long precision. The gap here isn't a lack of ideas, it's that none of them fully resolve the scale, the variety, the persistence of the effort. Now, there's one factor that changes how we think about the Nazca Lines. Their preservation was accidental. Yeah, The extreme dryness of the desert combined with minimal wind and rainfall prevented soil erosion. The Nazca people may not have expected these lines to last for centuries or even decades. So that raises a subtle but important possibility. The value of the lines may not have been in their permanence, but in the act of creating them, right? In repetition, in participation, in shared practice across generations. The lines may have mattered most while they were being made. The Nazca Lines don't require aerial technology or advanced surveying science or even lost knowledge. What they challenge instead is, it's a quieter assumption that meaning must be visible in order to matter. The people who made these lines likely understood them perfectly, even if no one ever saw them from above. Now, in the first episode, we saw organized construction appear earlier than expected. In the second, we saw technical knowledge appear earlier than expected. And then it disappeared. Here, we see large-scale planning whose, purpose resists a single explanation. The evidence doesn't point to mystery. It points to something more human. Cultures that invested time, labor, and meaning into practices we don't fully recognize anymore. The gap here isn't about, how impressive the Nazca Lines are, even though they are. It's about how easily intention fades when context is lost. And I'll see you next time in the evidence gap.